It's football time. It's football time. It's football time. Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
And that's right, it's football time in Tennessee. We are back with another season, and I am once again joined with Jaden and Cody.
Yeah.
What's up?
We have been gone. I know it's been a little bit.
He disappeared.
Yeah,
Yep.
last year got complicated, and we kind of just lost track, to be honest. You got caught up in the games, and with the AP results, it just became a hassle to try to, get everybody together to make it to do the videos. We was trying to go for 3 videos a week, and it became a hassle.
It was overwhelming, really. I mean,
Yeah.
we would have to review games that we really didn't even watch and then we'd have to make decisions on those games and we couldn't, we
Well,
couldn't
not
exactly figure it out.
not only that, but that last year, I would watch college football all day, all Saturday, just to talk about the games that we were going to talk about because it was the whole top 25 we talked about.
Yeah, I mean,
So I
I
was
mean,
watching every game on that top 25 list that I could
yeah,
just
that
to
there was
discuss
a
it.
lot of days where me and Jaden were both talking on all day Saturday, watching the football games, like games that we just really didn't care about. I mean, I
Mm.
love football, but do I really care about watching a team that I don't even root for?
Buffalo.
No. Speaking of which, but yeah, so it's going to be different this year. We're going to narrow it down. We are focusing only on the greatest team, the king of the SEC,
Mhm.
Tennessee. And I know people out there that doesn't like Tennessee are probably listening. It's like, well, y'all haven't been the king of SEC for a long time, but it's an inside joke for some people that I know that do get it. So, yeah, we're going to narrow it down to Tennessee. We're going to focus on Tennessee's players, the game, and what we think we're going to have for those games and the aftermath.
Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
about right.
Yep, pretty much.
So, what do y'all think? What are your expectations for this year?
You can go ahead, Cody. I'll let you go first.
I think
'cause I'm the yapper.
I think that the expectations for Tennessee especially, I would say that, after watching last season, I would say that the bar is set pretty high now. I mean, we've seen Nico, our highlighted player. We've seen him play last year. We've seen him play at our bowl game against Iowa, and he did fairly well. I mean, he ran the ball, he got touchdowns, and he did what he was supposed to. I think that he's set the bar pretty high, and going into this next season, I think I really hope that he's better in a sense. He's better than Milton because last season we set the bar really really high for Milton, and I don't I don't want to say that he didn't do good because on paper he did really good, and I think that in a way for most of us at least, and I hate to say this, but he kind of let us down in many situations. And I don't mean to say that in a cruel way, but the talent that we were expecting just wasn't there. It's just there were many mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes that he made, and I think that I mean maybe it was our fault for setting the bar so high for him. Given that he came from Michigan, he shadowed Hooker a lot. But I just hope that this season is a lot different. I hope that, I hope Imalava or Nico can perform as well as we expect him to. And as far as what I've seen, I think that'll happen, especially given our new schedule and everything else that we're really going to talk about here soon.
Yeah, I think just off the offset, looking at last year's team, Milton wasn't the guy for the job. I mean, the guy had a crazy good just distance. I mean, he could throw it a mile, but he was always so fixated on where he was supposed to throw it, and then scanning the field, and that hurt us in a lot of the games. And I think you know, we had Nico last year, but he was a red shirt, and we didn't want to use him because we want to have him for at least, you know, as long as we can. So not having Nico play, we really didn't, you know, get to experience any of what he had except for the last game,
Yeah.
which we'll go over later.
Yeah.
But you know, my expectations is, you know, I think it might be kind of a mid year, not to get like too down, but it might, just because there's so many, you know, variables that are unknown right now.
Right, right. And Nico is still technically, I guess, a freshman, so we really don't know what to expect from him. And I think it would be pretty unfair of us to set the bar so high for someone who's just now starting their college career. And I think that given over time, seasons in the future, I think that he will definitely grow and he'll definitely be a lot better. But I think that right now, Nico just needs to focus on improving, regardless if he was, you know, a 5-star quarterback, the third in the state or the country or whatever. I think that he still needs to focus on improving, growing, and just overall, you know, knowing the game from a college standpoint. You know, there's a lot more variables in college than there are in high school or other extracurricular, you know, activities that may involve football. And I think that Nico is a very talented player. Well, I mean, we've seen him in action before, but the bigger question now is how will he hold up for a whole season? I mean, last year we only seen him for maybe 2 or 3 games. We seen him a lot in the last game, but we really didn't get a good capture of his performance and what he can really do, how he can, you know, throw the ball as much as we need him to.
He,
You know, he's a good piece to the puzzle, but we don't know how well he fits.
there's still a lot of question marks.
Yes.
Freshman quarterback usually is like, you know, a bad omen sometimes. You know, it's like, because they haven't really felt the atmosphere. Now, Nico, I think, has promise. I can't say whether he's good or not. I don't think any person here can sit and say, "Oh yeah, Nico, man, he's so good." Like, I can't even say that. He has played well in the few games we've seen him play, but I can't sit here and tell you, "Oh yeah, this season he's gonna ball out," or "Yeah, he's 100% good," or "He's 100% bad," because there's so much uncharted territory, unknown to Nico, and our expectations for him, of course, is probably, you know, better than what we have for Milton, but, you know, statistically, like like Cody said, Joe Milton wasn't a bad quarterback on paper, but it's like when you watch the game, it just did not seem the input.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seemed weird. And for Nico, that didn't seem to look like that. Like, I watched some of his old highlights, and it's like, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm not gonna try to be a Debbie Downer either, but he had some. I'll say the good things first. He had some good plays and moments and stuff, and like some of the highlights, but it also looked like, I it may be controversial, like it kind of looked like Milton, and not like how he played, just like it didn't look like it computed or inputted like how everyone thought it would. And maybe it's because everyone hyped this Nico hype up, which I was one of them. I was on the Nico train. I'm still on the Nico train. It's just when you see the stats like Milton, 420 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and you watch the highlights, it's like, dude, it don't even look like he played like that.
Mm.
Well, I
Nico, for
mean-
me, it looked like on those highlights, and of course, it's not a big deal. He's still a freshman. He's still learn, but like I will say this: it did look a little bit better than like Milton's highlights. It
Well,
still
he did
had a lot of
shadow
promise.
Milton's. I mean,
That is
Milton was
true.
kind of basically teaching him the ropes, and that's. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish Hooker was there to give him the ropes, because Hooker was the quarterback we should have had for a long time, and we kind of dropped the ball, and that's the issue. You know, we've had that problem for many years. On paper, someone looks good in that quarterback spot, like, you know, Garantano, you know, or Guanamo is what I call him. He was just, you know, he on paper probably should have been a really good quarterback. And supposedly
In
he did really good in
practice.
practice,
Yeah.
but he was horrible in games. You know, and that's the problem
And-
is.
And as well as expectations go, like, and then we'll get into it here a little bit, like in terms of the schedule and expectations for that. But like, it's Chattanooga is it's a throwaway game. We all know this, but that gives him the play in a light just to get his feet wet and, you know, to experience a little bit of the atmosphere first game. But and then NC State's right next week, and I'm not. I think we still beat NC State, because I think we're still better in that regard. But for Nico as a new quarterback, I mean, this is kind of worrying and scaring to me. Like it's kind of scares me because freshman quarterback going to let's not act like NC State is a throwaway game. It's not no cupcake throwaway. At least I don't think NC State last year was like leading, or even at one point was leading the ACC. They were beating everyone in the ACC, but they ended up then they fell off. So I still think we win by I'm not scared of them per se, but like in terms of our freshmen, our new blood at the helm, I want to know if that's going to change his judgment on the field going up against a team that isn't like it's a complete throwaway.
Yeah,
I still think we win, but NC State's actually the first challenge we have, and it's crazy to say because we have a new quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the expectation really of any freshman because you just don't know. There's unknowns. I mean,
Yeah, it's
with
question
all
marks
of our players
everywhere.
a lot. I mean, if you look at our depth chart, it is question marks because we don't know anything about these players. They haven't been on the team, so we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could be wrong, and it could be an amazing season. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's the problem,
Right.
I want to be optimistic,
Yeah.
but I'm a Tennessee fan.
Yeah.
I've had my
Come
heart
back to
broke.
reality real
Yeah.
quick.
I would like to see how the team performs after this summer camp. I think that a little bit of off-season practice is good for everybody. And I really haven't looked into or even really heard anything about how this off-season camp has gone. And I'd really like to see what changes have been made, like what changes personally and physically and the mentality of the team itself has changed because a lot of things can happen during the off season, and I think that given the chance, a lot of the players that are new can really try to get their feet wet with some of the vets and some of the people that have been on the team for a while, and possibly kind of learn from them and grow from them, and hopefully take a couple of bits of knowledge and inspiration from them. And hopefully this off season has kind of opened Nico's eyes a little bit more than last season. I'm sure on the field practice, all that stuff that he got his feet wet last couple of games, that's good for him. But I'd like to see how a little bit of this off season practice has treated him so
Eh,
far.
I also agree, but you have to like we said and talked about a little bit last year, is that the coaching staff, the offensive Josh Heupel did not trust Joe Milton to throw the football.
No.
That's
Mhm.
why we were run first, pass later. And to be honest, Tennessee's, I hate to say it, has always kind of been like that the last couple of years. A run first, pass later. And when it gets 3rd and 12 and then they know we're passing the ball, it just doesn't work. But if Nico has showed good practice in terms of accuracy passing on the field, I think if he showed promise, and again, I'm kind of with Cody. I've tuned in a little bit on like interviews and things with Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel's very hopeful. He's very optimistic. He says he's made a lot of progress and stuff on the field and stuff like that. But if Nico has showed a lot of promise in terms of passing, running himself, and just our core, I think that we can actually see a lot more great passes this year than last year. So if he has shown promise, I think that we can get that good old air raid back a little bit. We can actually start throwing the ball again.
Especially since
nothing-
we've lost two of our great runners last season. We
Yeah.
lost both Jabari and
Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright, yeah. So
Dylan Sampson's still a monster too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
He is.
We have
he's gonna
Selden.
be- he's gonna
Selden's
be
still pretty
crazy.
good. I know Selden. He can be good, and Dylan Sampson's going to be great. So I'm not worried about our halfback core. I actually like all of our backups. Like Dylan Sampson's our starter, but I like Selden. He played a little bit last year. He had some pretty good runs. I don't know if he probably had like 1 touchdown, but he was like 3rd string or 4th string back then, or whatever. But he's like the second. He's the 2nd string, and then I forgot the other person. I think his name's like Nagia or Nguyen or something like that. It's like it's hard last name to pronounce, but he's a backup 3rd string, I believe. I could be wrong, but I heard he's pretty decent and good. But I'm not worried about our halfback. Our wides, I'm pretty okay with our wides. Our Our offensive line, I
Well,
believe,
we'll get to the
hopefully,
offensive and defense
but
on it a little bit later, but
yeah, but just in terms of like promise, it really just depends on this, this summer practice on
Right.
which
if the promise is there.
which no matter what, whatever we think how the games will go, it all breaks down to really we have a whole new conference, a whole new 12-team playoff that has not even really been tested yet. This is a whole new thing for us. So our expectations may be different, because that 12-team playoff will really play different now that we got a bigger conference now, and there's more chances for multiple SEC teams to be in that playoff.
Right. Right. And that's another big thing too. I mean, with the 12-team playoffs, I mean, there are no more divisions, and the schedule is open really to any team in the conference. And I think given that the new conference can open more doors to different teams, I think our chances really with not only improving our players, but our chances of making it to the playoffs in general are, I mean, they're better. They're a lot better than they have been for, I mean, what, the past 4 or 5 years, I mean, given Hooker status.
2022 was the year, but
Yeah,
you know,
2022 was, I mean,
And
but
if we had that 12-team playoff, we would have made it that
yeah,
year.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that this season is definitely going to open doors to, you know, more exciting things for Tennessee.
But yeah, that's true. And since we're kind of diving in, the 12 teams, and it's not really been, you know, tested yet, but we all know that it's going to be the best 12 teams in the nation in the playoffs. That's like the first 12 teams ranked, right? Sorry,
Right.
my
Should
phone
be.
was
Should
not
be.
muted. Yes, but here's the problem. If you're in that 12 slot, if you're ranked 12th, that doesn't even necessarily mean you will be the last team, the last seed on the, like, let's say we're 12th in the nation, but our schedule's kind of like, whatever, and we had some iffy games. They will put someone else in the playoffs above us as the 12th seed because maybe we didn't deserve it, even if we're ranked 12th.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we can still be ranked 12th in the nation and be that last team to make it. But if our schedule isn't as hard or we didn't as perform as we needed to be in certain games throughout the season, they will put someone else who is more deserving of it in terms of difficulty of schedule and how well they perform. Even if they're 13th, if they're one rank below us and they technically wasn't even supposed to make it, they can still make it to the playoffs. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but you know. And also, it goes to schedule. It comes down to schedule. And this kind of goes talk about the 12-team playoff, but also a little bit of our expectations in terms of how we're going to go for record this season is like 9-3 isn't impossible. It's nowhere near impossible to make it to the playoffs. You can go to the playoffs 9-3, but it's more or less likely. You have to hit the 10-2 range. If you hit the 10-2 range, I'm almost willing to bet that you are going to get a spot in the playoffs. 9-3, not impossible. You can still do it. I'm sure there will probably be a couple, but a lot of teams are going to go 9-3, and the reason why I say it's more unlikely is because if you have a lot of teams going 9-3, who are you going to pick to go to the playoffs? Right. So 10-2 is a spot because not everyone's going to go 10-2, depending on your conference, going on this, that, whatever. So 9-3 is less likely to make it to the playoffs, but not impossible. So if we go 9-3, we still have a chance. And if our rank is good and we're still 9-3, yeah, we'll probably make it. But 10-2 for me is that range to be like, yeah, we're getting to the playoffs. And our rank, of course.
Yeah, I
we
think
can't be
that'd be a
10-2 being
lock-in.
15th or something. But
I mean, with the new conference, the
Yep.
12-team playoff, we got the transfer portal. A lot of
Yeah.
teams will be harder to play against, which will make for a more interesting season for a lot of these other teams too. I mean, we may see a lot of teams in that higher ranking that are 9-3s, and so I mean, it's possible.
And we play the new entry that came to the SEC this year,
Right.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
And we play in Oklahoma. I'm worried.
I mean,
about that game.
That's an interesting.
That's a big
thing.
game for
It's a
Tennessee in
difficult
general.
game.
It's for Josh Heupel. He played, won a championship there in 2000 with in Oklahoma. And when he was the quarterback, he's coaching for Tennessee, and we're going back to play there. It's going to be insane. This is a big night for not only Josh Heupel, but for our team in general, and for Oklahoma for stating their, hey, I'm in the SEC now. How is this going to go? So I'm, of course, whatever you think, in terms of like the schedule, whatever. Oklahoma, like we said, NC State's the first big challenge. Well, Oklahoma's the next.
Yeah.
And then after Oklahoma, it's only harder from there. We don't get a break. After Oklahoma, it's like what? Arkansas, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Georgia. I mean, we don't get a break after that. So now we're going to be into the thick of it after the Oklahoma game.
Right.
So, and I don't believe coming off a loss from Oklahoma. I don't know. It's scary. Oklahoma it's for me. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know what you all think about it, but Oklahoma is definitely
I think.
we're in Oklahoma. It's
but
not going to be easy.
there's just so many unknowns.
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
unknown.
know what it's going to look like, and that's September 21st when that comes around. So
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe we'll be more stable.
yeah, that's a
Maybe we'll find
possibility.
ourselves a bit more. But like again, what if we lose that's crazy to say, but what if we lose the NC State? What is that going to do? I mean, I think if we lose the NC State, we're cooked for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say that is because you have to then turn around and play Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I think we even play at Arkansas. Then we play Florida. So we have 2 away games back to back after the NC State. Well, except for Kent State, but we don't really care about Kent State. So we're play at Oklahoma, and then we turn around and go to at Arkansas. And a loss to NC State is just going to batter us because we have to end up beating Oklahoma and Arkansas. I think we still beat Arkansas at their home territory, but then we have to play Florida, which is always a big mental toss-up game. No matter if it seems like we're better or not, it's always a toss-up game. No matter if we're home or away, it's always a mental battle. And then Alabama, Kentucky, whatever. But it's scary to think about. Like Dustin said, it's unknown. It's hard to tell. To me, I think realistically, our schedule, our record, 9-3 is probably more realistic, but 10-2 is a bit more hopeful.
Yeah,
I don't think it's impossible. 10-2, I
Which-
think we can do, but
Since we're on the topic, what would you say your predictions are for this schedule? Like looking over this schedule, what would you say? What would you
Well,
say is your
let Dustin
predictions?
go first
Well,
about these predictions.
if I go through it and I look at all of them, and I'm going to explain why, Chattanooga should be our throwaway game.
Throw away, yeah.
I mean, that's one
Easy
win
done,
right
something
there.
done.
NC State, I think it's winnable.
We win.
I think we
still
win
at
it.
the end.
Yeah, even though we're going to Charlotte, North Carolina for that. That's technically it's technically neutral sites what they get listed as, but I think even though they have really, let's face it, the home field advantage, I think that's winnable. Kent State, we should win that one.
Oh yeah.
If we don't, then we have some major issues. Oklahoma, I agree. I think that is really for me is our first big challenge. I know you said NC State is as a first challenge.
It's our first obstacle in
Yeah.
terms of how we're going to do against another conference team that's not necessarily a throwaway. But Oklahoma is our first big challenge, like important challenge, 100%.
I think
In terms of conference.
Yeah, I do too. But I think we beat Oklahoma. I think we beat Oklahoma.
I'm there with you too.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma's defense is kind of
We beat Arkansas.
Yeah, I agree.
We beat Florida at home, and the reason I say that, I know we lost last year. We were in the swamp, but I think we beat Florida home. We're kind of sore about that. We were a better team. We marched down there and got beat. We should have won that game. There was some reffing issues, but it is what it is. We're sore over that game. We will win that game. Alabama, that's an unknown. I'm sorry. Alabama has a new coach.
Yeah.
I
agree.
That's some new players down there. They lost some players, notably to us. So that's an unknown. I want to say they'll probably win, but that's an unknown. Kentucky, we win. Mississippi State, man, they're a team that can go either way. Where are we home on that one?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna say we win that one. Georgia, we lose.
Oh yeah, it's over.
UTEP, we win, and Vandy, we win. So I'm thinking, realistically, I'm saying 9-3, but we can go 10-2.
Yeah, I agree.
That is if we beat Oklahoma.
Yes.
Well, we can't have. I mean,
If
I was hearing-
if we lose to Oklahoma, we're losing to Florida.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing is like some fans in our little fandom, like in the Tennessee fandom, are crazy. It was like playoff or bust. Fire Josh. I'm like, no, there's
No,
no
no.
need to fire Josh Heupel. You know, he literally has brought the program back. In the short 2 years, we were literally undefeated for a short time. We beat Alabama. In the 2 years he was coach?
Yeah.
2 years. We don't need to fire him. 2023, yeah, it wasn't the best. We went 8-4, regular 9-4 after the bowl game. It's whatever. You know, it's like what sucks is realistically on paper, statistically, was actually somehow 2023 was a little bit of, even though it's begged a difference. 2022 was a great team and then we were playoff eligible, but somehow statistically, 2023 we're supposed to be the better team and we just wasn't. We just played bad. And then this year, we haven't gotten to this year yet, but we are, I think, better this year, and we haven't even played yet on paper than last year. So, I mean, we get Brew back. You know, we got some other other people coming back, or whatnot. But in terms, like what Dustin said, Alabama. I mean, Florida. I think we can still win because it's home. But I think Florida. It's just besides Florida, Alabama. It's always the biggest game of the season for us. It's always
true.
mental every time. Every time. It doesn't
I
matter how
think-
good both teams are. It's mental. It's a mental game first and foremost when you go against Florida.
I think I'm going to have to agree with Dustin on the 9-3. Not because I want to play like a devil's advocate or anything like that, but I think that the new talent, I don't want to think of Nico as someone who is, brand spanking new, doesn't know the first thing about football. I want to think that Nico he will perform great, but I think with the new talent, it's going to take a lot of getting used to. I think that this season is going to be a rough season for him, especially since it's going to be his first, full season. And I think that, hopefully he doesn't get hurt or anything or any other
Not gonna
players get injured, but I think this season is going to be a crucible in a sense for him to finally, play the game a lot.
The Oklahoma game will show us
Yeah.
if he's
Yeah.
on anything.
I think if we go, in a close game with NC State, I'll probably be on the rocks about the Oklahoma game. I think that if it's a close game, obviously not by like a field goal. If that's the case, I don't know if we'll perform well against Oklahoma or not. But if it's within a touchdown, I think that the Oklahoma game may be part of our downfall, and that it will be a 9-3 season. Not that 9-3 is bad, like we've previously mentioned, but I think that, like I said, this season with all this new talent will be a very difficult season for us.
I mean, a 9-3 season for what we have coming into this season is a win for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's still better than last season.
it to me, you going in with a lot of unknowns, a freshman quarterback that only really played one full game last year, and so if you look at it that way, for me, a 9-3 season is a winning season. I know people want to be in the playoff. I know people want to win the championship our first year out, but this kid is new. This team is new. Our coach is really, like you said earlier, brought this team, this organization back to even being a contender. I mean, we really were a contender a few years ago. Hooker could have brought us there if he didn't get hurt. And there was a lot, stuff going into that. We won't go into in this, podcast, but we were a contender that year. He brought us back for that. I think he can do us. We got trusting coach that he knows what he's doing, and I think he does. But we have a lot of new players. For me, a 9-3 is a win. A 10-2 is
Even
amazing.
better.
Yeah.
And I will say it, and I will be the first to say it. And again, not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but let's live in the real world here. I don't think we make the playoffs this season.
No, we probably won't.
Just for the fact that new quarterback, we have which we'll get into literally here shortly, a new secondary. When I mean by new secondary, they're not new freshman players. They're vets that have played the game before, but they just haven't played for us before.
Right.
So
the chemistry isn't there.
Yeah, so we will need to see how I love how we can run the ball, we can throw the ball. That I love defense. Is our defense good?
Wins games.
Defense wins games. So before we get into that, just to sum up one quick thing about our schedule or whatnot, 9-3, 10-2. Yeah, that's what we're thinking here. to harp back to the Alabama game, like Dustin said, new coach, some of the talent left, some of the talent stayed. There's still some of that Nick Saban talent there, even though Nick Saban is gone. It's a coaching battle.
Yeah.
Who can outcoach the other better? And of course, talent is important too. Who can execute plays? Of course, that's important. The players still have a role in this. So if the Alabama players end up being better and the coach is better, they win. But if we outcoach and play better, obviously we win. But maybe we outcoach Alabama, and maybe if we didn't perform so good, maybe we can still slip by a field goal or maybe just a touchdown. Again, I don't think we beat the brakes off Alabama, by no means. But
Yeah, and if
it's
you're
a
listening to
coaching
this and
battle.
you don't agree with our assessment,
That's
look,
cool.
we want the team to be undefeated. Don't get us wrong. We're just trying to be super
I mean-
realistic on what we're looking at so far this season. And right now there is just so much unknowns.
Yeah,
We talked a lot about
literally.
Nico earlier, but like I said, Nico's a freshman. We haven't got a lot of game film from him, but I will say the people that have been looking at Nico, that's not even in the organization, says there's something special about
Oh,
this
yeah.
kid.
100%.
And as long as he can stay healthy, the kid's a stick figure. That's scary.
Yep.
He
Yes.
hopefully put some more weight on through this.
I heard that he did.
offseason. Yeah, I have too.
a little
so.
bit.
Yeah.
But to pretty much sum it all up, like literally, we're diehard fans. We bleed orange, but you can't sit here and tell me that you're a sane person if you think we're going into Athens, Georgia, and beating Georgia. We're just not those type of people. And we don't have the depth for it. We don't have the skill and talent for it. If we beat Georgia off an upset, I would jump up and down. I would jump to the moon and back if I could.
We've done it before. It's
we've
happened.
done it before.
The Dobbs pass, that was an upset.
But of course, that was still in an era, and Georgia, and I said it last year, and because I said it in like a suspecting way. I was like, dude, when did Georgia get all the good suddenly? And I knew they were building, but it just seemed like all of a sudden Georgia had gotten good over these last couple of years, But then Dustin had made a statement last year saying, well, they've kind of been building over the last so and so years, and I was like, yeah, I know, but like it just seemed like all of a sudden that's like NFL caliber players just came out of nowhere, and they're running the SEC, they're running the college, but like 2016,
but that can be us.
Yeah, but 2016 was the last era. Like if you go back, I don't know, 15 so years, Tennessee and Georgia by no means was a bad team or nothing, but we could still compete with them. Like it was like, oh, it's a toss-up game this year against Tennessee and Georgia. It was just how it is. The teams you competed with back then was like Tennessee and Georgia, of course, Tennessee and Florida. You just lost to Alabama every year. It didn't matter. South Carolina was still one of those games. It's like you had these certain same teams that all contended on the same level. And Georgia was one of those teams. And I think 2016 was like one of the last years we could still contend. And we had good pieces 2016. Don't get me wrong. Don't act like we didn't in 2016. But 2016, I think, was the last year Georgia was like, oh yeah, we can keep up with them. After that, we just lost to them ever since.
I think it's
gotten better.
also it's important to note that Georgia also has their same quarterback from last year, Carson Beck, and
Yeah.
you take the same team that you've almost won the championship with, and you put it up against the new players that we have now. I mean, it's really going to be a rough game for us. And honestly, I think that it's in a way kind of unfortunate for us to have to go up against this kind of team. A lot every single year, really. And I think that if we were
I'm
able
glad you said
to
that.
honestly, and I think it's if we were to beat a team like Alabama 2 years ago, then it's possible for us to beat a team like Georgia in the near future, but I just don't think that it's going
Well,
to be this season
Also, here's the. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
or maybe even next season is all I was going to say.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you had mentioned that, and we'll wrap up here soon. And this is actually the last point I'm going to make, and it's very important for people who don't know. Since divisions do not exist anymore, since they don't exist anymore, how the conference championship stuff is going to work is the top 2 SEC teams. That's how that works now. But also, good news for us, if you've noticed our schedule, we don't play Missouri or South Carolina like we would every year.
Exactly.
So here's a good. Whether you take it as a blessing or a curse or whatever, take it what you want. The main 3 SEC teams that Tennessee will play every year, that will be on our schedule every year, 100% guaranteed, is Florida, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. We have someone, the NCAA or SEC conference commissioner or whatever, has decided those are the 3 teams that we will have scheduled every year, no matter what. So every other team that's in our SEC, that's not those 3 teams I mentioned, are on rotation. That means we won't play Georgia every year. What sucks is that we just got unlucky this year and rolled them again.
Yeah.
Think of it as like a dice roll. So, you know, we won't play these certain teams every year, like Georgia or like this year South Carolina or Missouri. We don't play them. Like, so we won't end up probably playing like Kentucky every year, which sucks because
That's
they're
really
a big
weird.
rival.
Yeah,
but
it's a huge
we
rival
won't end
for
playing
us.
them anymore. But like, because back then I think you played what 4 or not? Sorry, you played like 8 conference games
Yeah.
and 4 non-conference, right? To make up a total of 12 games in a season. And I think 6 of those are your average schedule, and the other 2 are like rotation teams. Like, think of it as us playing LSU or a Texas A&M like we did last year. Those are the other conference games in our conference that we have to schedule and play for our conference that aren't on a regular rotation. Like on our regular scheduled games like Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina. They're just alternate SEC games is what I call them, that we have to have scheduled to make up the 8 conference games we play. So
Now
no
that
longer to
there's so
harp on
many.
that. Yeah, now there's so many, like Oklahoma, boom, Oklahoma.
Texas, there's another one that's gonna be
Now
coming
we
up next.
could play a Texas.
Yeah.
We could
See,
play
now
a
that's
Texas in the coming
also
years.
that's also unfortunate in a way, because now we'll play teams such as, you know, Clemson and LSU, or Texas, or Oklahoma this year, or someone along that caliber. And it's really a toss up, because it's possible that one year we might even play teams like that, you know, back to back, which can really be unfortunate or against our favor, especially if it's you know, teams of that caliber back to back.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the year and what it looks
Yeah.
like that year.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be like 4 teams that we play that are all really good, and we could
Mhm.
just have a really bad
A
year
bad
because
schedule
of it.
draw. Yeah. And that's the thing. So not to harp on it any longer, but that take it how you want, whether it's good news or bad news, how it is. Like Missouri beat us last year. Maybe take that as good news since we don't play them this year. Missouri's all like just they started doing good last
Yeah,
year.
they
I
came
mean,
out
they
of
kicked it in
nowhere.
gear,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know what was
Mhm.
going on
They
with
got it
Missouri.
together. So like take that how you will, but it's actually, and I know people will make the debate arguments like it took you to the 12-team playoff to finally make it in, or it finally took you to not have Georgia on the schedule to get in. You know, people are going to make those arguments, but who cares? You know,
Yeah.
if we don't play them that
Mhm.
season and we make it to the playoffs and we win a championship, maybe who cares? We still won it.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
win's a win,
we'll-
no matter who you play.
We'll probably have to face somebody big no matter what if we get in the playoffs anyways. So, I mean, it doesn't even matter. I
Yeah.
mean, what I like about this, just to end my part of it, is with a 12-team playoff, you know, with the conference or the playoff being so wild, we get more football.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's you know
Bottom
the
line.
best part. College football is way better than NFL. I don't know why
I agree.
anybody watches NFL anymore anyways,
Mhm.
especially with all the new rules they've got just to, you know, wussify the game, but we get a lot more college football and a lot more excitement that comes out of this. So I'm excited to see what the 12-team playoff looks like going through
I
the
agree.
year, how far
Absolutely.
it pushes it out. Because, I mean, we're looking at it could be falling around if it goes where I'm thinking the championship game maybe in late January.
Yeah.
I mean,
Possibly
early
even
February.
early February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like pro football, you know. That's good for us, you know. So
Yeah, I agree.
we
don't have
really talked about Nico. We talked about, you know, what was going on with him and what we expect of him a lot. You know, we do have a new secondary. We talked, you know,
Yeah.
a little bit about
A
that.
little bit about that.
And I do want to get on that, but I kind of want to jump to the offensive side just for a little bit because we haven't really talked to other
Yep.
than Nico what's we're looking at. We talked about that we had Samson coming back. That's a big
It's huge.
that's huge for us. He's
really good.
He's an asset. I mean, we're going to need him. We have Squirrel White still.
He's a great leader
That's-
too.
That's a big asset. But we have some
Wonderful.
new players on that team that we don't know what they're going to look like. So, but I think what we're going to see out of that offense is some of those assets coming into play. I think there's going to be, especially if Nico can throw that ball, can look around. Squirrel White's going to be our key receiver. I think Samson is going to be a breakout star this
We
year
have
for
Brew
us.
back. Another thing.
Yeah.
Brew
Mm-hmm.
is coming back, but the latest reports that I've seen is that he won't be ready for the first game.
No. I mean,
No.
bad injury, man. That stuff's hard to come
Awful
from.
injury.
So
But what I mean is that he has returned for this season,
he should be
which
back
makes
this
sense. He
season.
got hurt,
Yeah.
so it
It's
makes sense
just-
why he come back.
It's also possibly unfortunate that he might be more skittish.
I
because of
agree.
an injury,
And
Yeah,
then
I'm
injury
afraid
he
like
could
of
play
that.
more scared. Take it as a Justin Hunter thing. If you
Mhm.
remember Justin Hunter playing for Tennessee a long time ago, he tore an ACL. He ended up going to the NFL, and he never been the same. He was just never
Mhm.
the same ever since he tore his ACL, and it's just how it is. But in terms of new offensive, like we said, if Nico shows promise in throwing the ball, if we can get that ball around. But we have, I don't remember the tight end's name, but we have a transfer from Notre Dame tight end. And I think, a remark he made saying Tennessee is just bigger and better. His words, not mine.
Yeah.
That's what he
Mm.
said. So he showed up, tight end, transferred. And we have someone that I think is actually going to show a lot of promise who came from Tulane, by the way. His name is Chris Brazel.
Oh yeah.
I've looked some of his stuff. He actually seems to be really decent. I'm not gonna say really good, but he seems to be probably just good. And that's not bad.
He's wide, isn't he?
He is a wide receiver, and he seems to he played at Tulane. I think he played at another team before Tulane. He played at some, then transferred to Tulane, played for Tulane, and now he's here at us. So he's gotten some experience and played around, started, I'm excited to see what he does. He's quick. I'm excited to see how he plays and stuff like that. I believe we have Gerald Mincy back. Offensive
Gerard
lineman
Cooper.
yeah. I'm pretty sure we probably have a couple guys that are newer on the O line, but I think most of them are still here. But in terms of that, our offensive we got some new pieces.
We do have
some
some new
obviously
pieces.
returning pieces, but defense,
Defense is a whole nother story.
oh man, it's different. The whole
We-
defense has changed.
Yeah, and I want to
Secondary,
give
sorry,
a
no, I
shout.
wouldn't say the whole defense.
But the secondary is a question mark because we don't know how they're going to fit. We've had major problems in that secondary.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So really, anything positive comes out of it, it's a win. So I mean, we can't even. I mean, you can't play man with our defense because no one can keep up.
So we have
That
to play
was
zone
a
and compensate.
very
Yeah,
large problem that we faced last year.
And if you have a quarterback and a coach that can read the zone and know what plays to make, just cut the zone up. I mean, you'll get bombed and scored on every time, or completions at least. So
but we do have Pierce. We do have Pierce. and
that's
Pierce
going to
is-
be a big
yes,
thing.
he's
He-
one of the
yeah.
best elite rushers or pass rushers in the nation.
He's going
I
to be a
think
problem
he's-
for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
I think
I love him. He's
He
great.
will just demolish the O line. I think he'll break through it very easily. I think O lines won't be a problem for him.
And
Even
it's funny too because that NCAA game came out and he is pretty much he's
Oh, he's a cheat code. I don't know
Yeah,
if they
he
fixed
is.
it now, but he's pretty much a cheat
he,
code.
Oh, yeah.
you can just sack. I don't know left. I mean it's constant boom 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 boom. But I mean because he's rated high in the game. I mean
He
because,
is the best pass. He's the
Yeah.
best defensive end in the game.
I mean if he lives up to any like half of what he did on that game, he's going to be a huge problem for anybody that we play.
He's a monster.
So I mean, I'm not worried about that defense
No.
line or defense line. I'm worried about
Not so
a
much, yeah.
little bit about
The
the
secondary.
secondary because we just don't know what they look like, and we've
Yeah, now
had
that
major
is-
problems.
That is question marks because it's like I said, they have people that has played football before. They're not new. Like they're not freshmen. They're veterans, but they haven't played for us. Like none of them. This is their first time playing with us as a team.
Which might
We
be
lost
okay.
11 people in the backfield.
Yeah,
11.
but we needed
Yeah.
to lose 11 in the backfield.
Yeah, because they were not good.
I mean, which
Come
they
on.
might be fine. I mean, but we just don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another question mark
And
that
that's-
adds to the season.
That's another thing about if the season's going to be mid or a big downfall is because of the defense. I think defense hails. I love, don't get me wrong, I love high scoring offensive games, is bombing it back and forth. It's awesome. It's cool. But you know what wins games?
Yeah,
defense.
stopping the ball. I mean, picking off passes.
Stopping it
I
and
mean,
scoring on offense,
yeah.
man. I
And
mean,
we
that's
did lose Jordan Thomas as well. So, and I think he was projected to be a starter in 2024. So,
I mean, we just don't know. I mean, a lot of it's just unknown. I'm excited to see.
I am too.
Because
Nico
I mean,
era. Here we go.
yeah, this is a whole new year. This is a whole new era. I mean, and for all the people that's in our fan base, like Jaden brought this up earlier. You know, it's win all or fire coach. We got to stop that mentality. We have to. I mean, we have had some bad coaches in the past. Don't get me wrong, but we need to be
Derek
able to
Dooley.
stick with a coach long enough to see what he's actually going to do with a team. And so far, coach has been fantastic. I've not had any problems. There was some question calls last year. Don't get me wrong, and coaches are going to have that. But we need to stick with somebody that long enough to see how he's going to play out. I mean, if you even go back to Butch Jones, Butch was an okay coach, but you know, as soon as you start calling for his head, he just gave up. We can't do that to this coach. Especially with somebody that I think the team that could bring us eventually to another championship.
I think he's well regarded around the Tennessee community, and I really don't think that he's going to have any problem. You know, obviously he's fitting in.
He's
already,
done right
so,
by us. I don't see the
yeah.
problem.
I mean, I don't either, but you know our
Oh, I
fan
know.
base.
I'm just talking about people.
You know how
yeah,
it
the other
is.
people. Like
Yeah.
saying playoff or bust or championship or bust is just delusional.
Yeah,
That's like-
he
that's
is
like-
no Billy Napier by
No,
far.
no, not at all. And I mean, I feel
Oh, no,
I even feel bad for him though. That
He's on the hot seat.
that's a toxic fan base down there. Anyways, I would hate to have to even
And
think about coaching down.
we don't. Of course, we're not going to talk about other. We'll get into that later. That'll be like our final talking point about what to expect for the rest of this channel, whatever. And we're not.
Which we'll
talk about it in
probably
a second.
get there pretty quick. I mean, we're
Yeah.
already running kind of long on this episode,
Yeah. But like in terms of Florida, Billy Napier's on the hot seat. If he loses to it this year and don't do good, I think they fire him.
I think he's going to be gone within the first game.
Yeah.
From what I heard.
The Florida, I think, has the hardest schedule this year in terms of whatever. I think they said that.
I think they're going to get rid of him either before the first game or after the first game. I think he's already he's looking down the barrel. I mean,
And a loss to us.
Yeah.
It's over.
Oh, definitely.
You can call me delusional, but it's over.
But I mean, what's going to be different about this year for us? Not just the
Yeah.
season, but for us.
Yeah.
I
For
know
the channel.
last year, you know, we kind of just disappeared. You know, like I said, when I talked about it earlier, we had some, we had high, like, we shot for the stars. Let's put it that way. We shot for the stars and got a little bit over our heads. We were kind of, you know, sinking a little bit, trying to keep up with the
even had
games. And
insider info to the Texas A&M game, and we didn't record.
that's true. So we're going to try to revamp just strictly Tennessee and keep it, because that's our team. You know, that's how we even got the name for this. It's Football Time In, because that's the famous saying you heard at the intro of this. It's Football Time in Tennessee. You know, that means something to us. We're going to stick with that only. You're going to get, you know, takes only on Tennessee games. I think that's going to help us, you know, kind of bring everything together a little bit and not be so sporadic, and kind of keep us focused on one thing. So, you know, Jaden watches one game and Cody watches a game. I watch a game, and we're all trying to figure out, well, did you watch this part of this? And, oh, well, I saw this. Well, I didn't get to see that. Let's pull stats up of this game that we don't even know anything about the players here. So, I mean, for the most part, we don't know a lot about some of the players here in this team this year, but at least we'll be able to focus in, and, you know, we're all watching the same games, you know, every single week, and we can.
We're not
pick,
experts.
Yeah, we're not experts by
Yeah.
no
We're
means.
just
I mean,
fans talking about what we think.
I played for a little football in high school, but you know, that's
I
about
play
it.
backyard, baby.
Cody plays NCAA on the video
Yeah.
game.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean that's as far as it gets. But I mean, we can at least focus in and give y'all a bit more content. What our plans are going forward is you will get a video on YouTube, Spotify, whatever audio. You will get that dropped no matter what for the pre-game. What we think that game's going to look like for that week on
Yeah.
Friday.
Expectations
That
for
is
pre-games.
Yeah. Expectations for pre-games on Friday. That will drop no matter what. Now, here's where we're going to kind of say there's some things that matters for our second episode. You'll have 2 a week. Our second episode will depend. And the reason why I say depend is because AP polling will matter in this 12-team playoff. It's
Yes.
not going to play really on a selection committee anymore. So we need to kind of bring that into the talking point. So if they drop on Sunday, if the AP poll drops on Sunday, you will have a video or a audio recording on Monday. If they drop on Monday, you will get a video or audio recording on Tuesday. So just depending on when they plan to drop the polling is when you'll get that second video of a recap and where we think if we agree with where we're
Post-game
at
thoughts.
now, the AP polling and everything.
A pregame and a postgame.
Yeah. So you'll get two a week. That's the plan, which I'm already thinking about, getting a little hyperventilating a little bit with all the stuff I've got going on with all the other channels I'm running now.
Oh,
But you'll get 2 a week. And I hope you like it. I hope you join in with us every week and comment. Let us know if you have different predictions for this season. Are you one of those people that it's championship or bust?
don't be one of those people.
Don't.
We don't
Or
claim your energy.
do you agree that it's going to be like a 9-3 season? Do you don't have that many? Let us know. Maybe you don't have this high of hopes. Maybe you think we're
Maybe you think we suck.
Maybe you think we're an 8
And we're the worst team to
team
ever play the game of football.
Which, if you're not a Tennessee fan, I don't know why you're listening to this to begin with, but just let us know. Comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. Help us out grow. I think it'd be kind of cool one day if we're like, go to a Tennessee game and it says sponsored by It's Football Time. That'd be kind of cool. So we can only do that with you guys listening, and helping us out get there.
I did that without it being sponsored. We didn't even upload it. I didn't even record it. It was a Texas A&M game, man.
We're going to try to get a little fun with this stuff, with the clips and stuff. If you're listening to this on Spotify, of course, it's just audio, but video on YouTube, we'll probably
have highlights and
have some
stuff.
highlights and stuff of the games so that you can actually see what we're talking about. So maybe even have our faces on the screen eventually too, if Cody ever has a camera good enough to do something like that. But I think that's going to be it for us for our first episode. It's Football Time in. I'm overall excited to see what happens this year.
I am too.
Absolutely.
100%.
But
Absolutely.
we will catch you next time. And as always, I'm Dustin.
I'm Jaden.
And I'm Cody.
And
Yeah,
we'll
remember.
catch you when football starts.